Hi, everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and we are back again because we are going to talk about another Star Trek book. Can you believe it? I know, I can't believe it either. It's something we rarely do on the channel, but every now and then we do got to stop and take some time to sit down and talk about a Star Trek book. And as you can see, we are still on our Klingon kick. And man, it has been a fun ride. We've been on this for, well, I mean, not specifically Klingon, but we've been following Captain Klag and the IKS Gorkon through Diplomatic Implausibility, The Brave and the Bold Book 2, and now on to A Good Day to Die, and of course, we've just finished Honor Bound, right? And we are loving it. I mean, I am just kind of deep into the Klingon world right now after reading these, and very happy to say that there's two more after this still. And again, I don't get ahead of myself, so I don't know exactly what I'm getting into with these final two, but I will say that it has been a very fun Klingon summer, right? So let's kind of jump right into book two of the IKS Gorkon series, Honor Bound. And of course, this is by Keith R.A. Decandido. And again, I've been enjoying this Klingon adventure here. Continuing the all-new series of Klingon adventures, Star Trek IKS Gorkon. The Order of the Batleth, founded after Kales's ascension to Stovokor, the Order was tasked with rooting out dishonorable behavior and spreading the word of Kales to the Klingon people. In the subsequent millennia, the Order has become more ceremonial. But now, Chancellor Martok has called the Order back to its original purpose, to preserve the cause of honor. Honor Bound. Book 2, Captain Klag of the IKS Gorkon, the newest inductee into the Order, has given his word to the children of Santara that the Klingon Empire will leave them in peace. But Klag's old rival, General Talak, has ordered him to go back on his word. In aid Talak in conquering Santara's world, now Klag must stand against his fellow Klingons, but will even his fellow members of the Order of the Batleth, not to mention his own crew, follow him into disobedience, or will they betray him to Talak? The crew of the Gorkon faces its greatest trial and glorious adventure that will be remembered in song and story throughout the Empire. Kabla! Again, this was fantastic. So, first off, if you are a Star Trek fan and you are interested in the Klingon culture, you want to learn more about, the Klingons. First off, I love what the author does here, and I think he's got it right at the beginning here. And yep, he's got this at the beginning of book 1. For Mark Okrand, who told us how they speak. So he was the one that basically designed the Klingon language, right? Ronald D. Moore, who told us how they live, and Michael Dorn, who showed us who they were. Who, of course, Ronald D. Moore is the producer of Deep Space Nine. Correct me if I'm wrong. And Michael Dorn, of course, there is no single person who has played a Klingon more, obviously, or no single person who has actually played in Star Trek more than Michael Dorn. He's the king of Star Trek, right? And the king is a Klingon. How appropriate. Or the emperor, I should say, right? But anyway, this is part 2 of part 1. This is part 2 of part 1. That means that's ridiculous. This is part 2 of a 2-part story, obviously. So, before you read this one, you definitely would want to read A Good Day to Die, because this is a direct continuation of that. In the same vein as all of the greatest Star Trek episodes, right? The Best of Both Worlds, Redemption, Time's Arrow. Don't forget about that one, right? Anyway, so when you start reading it, say in your head in the voice of Majel Barrett Roddenberry, and now the conclusion, right? So there you go. You get into it, and we'll briefly kind of touch on the last one, right? And they touched it on the back. So the Klingon Empire has been tasked with expanding, right? It's post-Dominion War, So they're out there looking for resources. They're in this new sector, the Kavra sector. They find this fantastic planet. They fail in their challenge, right? And Klag has to honor his word, which of course he does. But General Talak is sending his fleet in to take over the planet anyway. Very dishonorable. Very dishonorable, right? So the point of this book basically is, will the Klingons, follow the honor that has kind of been set forth by the Order of the Batleth, by Kalas. So Klag is going to call forth the Order of the Batleth, and say, who are we? Are we true Klingons? Are we going to stand up for what we believe in, or are we going to, go against our word, like Molor? And no, and that's basically the theme of this book. Obviously, it's called Honor Bound, right? But there is so much great stuff going on in here. And a lot of it has to do with the little stories that the author is able to kind of interweave into this. So, throughout the past couple of books, we have been getting to know these characters more and more, and getting kind of a little bit deeper each time into these characters' backstories, right? But now we're even getting like, I guess I love the kind of the Klingon way that you get to see some of these stories play out. And that's the best way I can put it without getting too much into spoilers, right? Because there's a typical way that you kind of see a story play out when you're seeing it from a human perspective, right? But then when you kind of get into this mindset and you're this whole different, species, and the Klingons, of course, have a whole different way of thinking, right? And I love the way that a lot of these little stories play out throughout this. And of course, the main theme is Klag and his kind of attempt to keep the Klingon word, right? To keep Klingons being honorable, even if that means dying, right? Because of course, for a Klingon, dying gloriously, in an honorable battle, that's the best way to go. You're going straight to Stovo Core, and you're battling for eternity, right? Anything else, you're heading to Grethor, and you don't want that. So, all right, let's get into the book a little bit. So if you don't want to be spoiled, we'll see y'all next time. But this, again, man, I honestly wish, I would love to see, and we got like a little bit of this in Lower Decks, right? They had that episode where they were able to focus on the Klingon Lower Decks crew, which really is probably one of my favorite, maybe my top 5 episodes of Lower Decks, right? But man, reading these books just makes me want to see a Klingon-centric show, which is a dream. It's a dream. It will never happen, right? I mean, maybe someday in the far, far future, where like Star Trek is like everywhere, and like there's a Klingon show, there's a Ferengi comedy, there's this. Anyway, a dreaming again. But there are so many little stories in this book that, and again, this, even though this is a part 2 of a part 1, it is its own kind of complete story, because in the end of the first one, they did finish up, right? And then they just kind of left this cliffhanger with like, oh no, here comes the fleet, what's next? So now they're completing that story, and this one does give, I would say, there's a lot more space battles in this one than there was in the previous one. And the author does, again, you got all these new Klingon characters, right? And he makes sure to kind of give everybody a little bit of a time to shine. Everybody gets a chance to tell their story a little bit, and again, just kind of dig deeper into each of their backstories, right? And there are so many interesting characters here too. And I don't know if did I keep them here? I probably deleted them. I used to have a bunch of them here that we could just look at as they scrolled by. But again, the crew of the Gorkon is people that you would recognize if you're like a a watcher of Deep Space Nine and TNG. A lot of kind of one-off and guest star Klingons showed up, um, and we won't get into each one by name now. But the main characters here, I guess, that they kind of really focus on in this one are the new first officer, right? His name is Cornan, and he does show up, I think, in Deep Space Nine. You can kind of go back and see him and kind of get an idea of what he's like. But the previous first officer died in the last book, so Cornan now comes in, and he does get a fantastic scene, and I will get right into the. And we're kind of close to the end with this too, but it doesn't matter. This is my Star Trek book talking. I can do what I want. But Cornyn's scene was fantastic, basically. So he was in charge of keeping the ship in the air, right? And maintaining the space. Uh-oh. We've frozen here. What has happened here? Oh no. Alright, we're going to reset our camera and see if that helps here. Hold on. Deactivate and activate again. And we're back. Look at that. On the fly, fixing things. It froze while I was scratching my nose, but now we're back. Anyway, Cornyn. The author did a fine job of writing him a very honorable death scene, right? So he is in battle against one of the kind of the final enemy fleet ships, right? And he's in charge right now, but the helm officer is blown away from the helm, and he has to go take the station, right? And basically, as the station is exploding and tearing him apart, he's maintaining, and he's still and it's an interesting look. Because, all right, so a Klingon dying in an honorable battle, you think of, they're, throwing their batless, their detang, all that. But I liked how this was a look at how he could do that in a space battle. And basically, he was able to kind of keep himself and keep his feet all up until, he had the ship safely out of the, impact area or whatever. And then at that point, died and went to Stovall Core, right? On the planet, man, so much good stuff happens on the planet in this one too. Basically, again, the book is kind of divided into two sections, right? You have the fleet battle up in space, and there's a lot of kind of turning. This character who came with General Talak, now he's going to join with Klag, but Klag has a traitor on the inside too, someone that's feeding Talak information, so that a lot of his kind of tricks and his plans don't go exactly where they wanted to, right? So both these they have different, people that turn one way or another, right? And again, they give each of these stories and each of these characters their own kind of little bit of lore and backstory that makes you invested in it. And in the end, you're like, oh man, Datava, oh man, what a way to go. And he was just this kind of bit player, right? But still, you got invested in it. And it's a weird thing too, if you're reading a lot of Klingon books, and a lot of times you're like, oh no, a character has died, that's terrible. But for a Klingon, no, that's great. I was so happy for Cornyn, he was able to die gloriously in battle. He's went to Stovall Core, And I thought it was kind of fun how that went, right? Now, I tell you what. We're going to kind of get right into the final battle here. And as you can see, and we'll make it a little bit bigger here, too. Actually, tell you what, let's do it like this. Look at this. Let's make the freaking final battle scene enormous. I think they did a fantastic job, and I should have... Whoops. I should have not touched that thing. I should have looked up the author the artist on this cover, which I do enjoy very much. All right, so to get us in the mood for the final battle, let's get a little bit of the warrior song, right? You guys ever just break out into Klingon songs? I do sometimes, and honestly, it's fun. And okay, anyway, the final battle. All right, I've skipped a lot, but that's fine. So the gist of it is honorable battles in space, honorable battles upon Santora, the honorable Klingons fighting aside the children of Santora against these dishonorable Klingons who go against their word, right? Worf is a member of the Order of the Batleth. He was also called, in the beginning of the book, he went to seek out Chancellor Martok. We don't really touch on that. We'll get back to that later. The final battle. Basically, things are not looking good for Talak, but Klag is like, let's do this the right way. And he calls him out like, let's battle in a circle, which is exactly what the children of Santora do. They draw a circle in the sand, and they throw down. Now, Klag, in the end of the last book, was kind of determined to try to use his Batleth, even though it was a disadvantage to him, since he had his father's arm grafted on, right? So this time, he chooses to go one-handed with the Detang. It's the Detang, right? Yeah, he's got his Detang, right? And this proves to be the correct move for him, right? And what is a very... All right. This is not the only very well-written battle, all right? There is a battle with Big Goran before this one, which is fantastic. And I thought about reading it in its entirety as a video because I was just so enthralled. But no, we're talking about the final battle now. In this great battle, basically, Klag, outplays Talak, right? And also just kind of like shows what it means to be a true honorable Klingon, right? And again, it takes him out, drives his Detang into his heart, and at that point, once he's won the battle and he's kind of won over the hearts of all the Klingons, even Talak's troops, Martok shows up, and he's like, "Yeah, you made the right move, dude." So like, I kind of like that validation at the end, right? It's like, yeah, that was the right thing to do for the Empire. And then in a kind of and Martok's like, all right, children of Santora, we're gonna take our leave like we said we would, and we'll be out of here. Very honorable. But then in the end, Malar, who's like he's the leader of them, he's like, you know what, guys? In the end of the last one, when we battled, I actually lost because I stepped out of the ring because he didn't kill Klag, right? So technically, he's saying I lost and you guys won, and the Klingons can have the governorship of the planet. And I was like, man, how is the author going to make it right? Because you don't ever want to cheer for the bad guys, right? And the bad guys, they are the people who conquer, the people who go out and they take over planets and stuff. And of course, this is the Klingon Empire, and that is what they do. So I love how the author was able to make it so that, yes, the story was about them conquering this planet, but the way they did it was in this like honorable way, and that the people of the planet are now like, they like want to be part of this honorable Klingon Empire, not only because they love fighting as much or more than the Klingons, but also because they know now they're part of this kind of greater world, and this would be a benefit for them. So a very interesting ending. Like I said, again, I love how he was able to kind of turn that and make it into like a good thing, right? And that's fantastic. So anyway, that was Honor Bound by Keith R.A. Decandido. Another fantastic Klingon book. Read it and get deep into the Klingon culture. As always, my friends, live long and prosper. Kapla! Glory to you and your house. We'll see you guys in the next one. You all have a good night.